All set?
Yes, sir.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. This meeting will come to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Benjamin.
Here.
Oldman.
Here.
Kasdorf.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Sardina.
Here.
Tarks.
Here.
Is there anyone desiring to be heard? None. Consent agenda.
I'll
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it. Tom, you probably shouldn't make that motion because you're on there for the consent agenda.
It's true.
Yes,
Oh,
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
all right. So for consent agenda, I heard Mark and Pat.
Mhm.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Communications,
Just the department reports.
thank you. Committee reports, building board.
Building board met at 5:40 this evening, and we approved the fence permit for Austin Hamel at 4638 North 126th Street, and a sign permit for Good Armstrong Training and Consulting at 4553 North 126th. End of report.
Thank you. Finance,
Finance Committee met just a few minutes ago. We approved July's statement of revenues and expenditures and July invoices of $148,249.39 in the report.
the Community Foundation met last week. Just a reminder that the golf outing is September 19th. They are still looking for golfers and golf hole sponsors. If you're interested, you can contact me and I can get you some information. End of my report. Community events.
Community Events Committee met on July 24th. We reviewed the 2024 4th of July parade, started some preliminary plannings for the 2025 4th of July parade. During our meeting, we also started planning for bingo beginning in January, and discussed whether or not to pursue any fall activities such as craft fair. No decision was made on that. We have no meeting scheduled for August or September. We will reconvene on October 23rd with a budget review meeting with Ben. End of report.
Thank you. Library, Charlene, or does Tom have it?
Library board met virtually August 12th. Trustee education continues through the week, started on Monday, ends on the 23rd. Like all other committees, library is always looking for board members. This Friday, we have a interview with a prospective person for library director. We thought we had one in mind, but he turned us down to be the children's librarian in Yale's Corners. At the time of the meeting, the Wi-Fi in the library was still out. Hopefully that's fixed. And having problems with computer number 2. Our next meeting for the library will be September 10th. End of report.
Thank you. Report of the administrator.
Just a couple quick things. I wanted to thank everybody who came out for National Night Out at the beginning of the month. It was a big success. There was a lot of fun, a lot of good prizes. So this was Brian's first year running it kind of on his own, and I think he did a fantastic job. I heard a lot of really good feedback. We also are going to have Hot Rods on Hampton on September 8th. So make sure that everybody is aware of that and prepared to come on down and look at some cars and get some good food and drinks. So that should be a lot of fun too. We are going to be reading water meters this week with the expected bills going out in the beginning of September. And our road project is advancing as scheduled and on time. So that is good news on that front as well. End of report.
Thank you. So new business discussion on the possible reduction of the size of the village board. I wanted to explain this. I know we have the next item on there as well as to have interview 2 candidates for the board, but I've been wanting to bring this to the board to just discuss some villages run, I handed out to the board here tonight, just a sampling of the local areas. Some have 5 board members, some have 7, and then the outlier would be 9 in Germantown. And then you can see that there is a population of that particular village is kind of all over the board. We're at like 1,800. So I just wanted to see what, Ben had put a couple points in last week's memo. And I wanted to see just what the board thought of maybe reducing our board from 7 to 5. And it would take 2 years to do. We would have to do, because we can't affect a election year. So it would be minus 1 spot in 25 and then 1 spot minus in 26 if we decided to do something.
So we would have an even amount then.
For next year, we would have 6.
Is that legal?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of the smaller cities or villages or towns have 3. So it's kind of a hodgepodge. I didn't know if we had,
I thought it had to be an uneven number.
it has to be an odd number. So, well, there's nothing, you can't affect the election cycle. So that's why we can't do 2 next year.
Right.
As I was working on this, then we did get, because we had not got any candidates, and then we did get 2 applicants. So part of this also comes from, we just don't have people wanting to do this anymore.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. We have 2 right here that are willing to step forward.
We do have 2.
Or no,
Yes.
yes, and it happens almost every time somebody steps down or we have a change. There's always wait to the last minute before we have something happen. But we always have had in this village, somebody step forward and come up for the village board to be a trustee. I've been on it in April, it'll be 18 years, and I'm very proud of it. That every time something came up, that people in the village of Butler would step up and become here.
I agree. I mean, we do have people, we have 2 that we'll talk about next. There would be a savings to the board as well of it'd be 2,500 per year per person. So that would end up being 5,000 eventually per year. And I just was looking for some input from the board of what they thought.
Well, if that's the case, I'd rather leave it the way it is for the value of what we have here, for the different personalities we have on the board. I think it's a better representation of the village with a lighter, bigger group like the 7 of us. 5, you're starting to bring it down into shooing it into a little corner. You may have 3 people at some point that are all in the same vein, and we want it to be able to be flat across the board, fair for everyone. Right now, I think we're pretty even across the board as far as being fair with everyone.
I think my only concern with going from 7 to 5 is the fact that what happens when 5 looks like 4,
Exactly.
right? And then we're left with trying to, to Bill's point, wait till the last minute for someone to step forward, and decide whether or not it's going to be 4, or do we, revert back to, well, do we need to be at 3? I think with 7, there's a cushion. I think with 5, it's still solid. It means less people, but I think it opens us up to what if, what happens if somebody's
Exactly.
job comes through, or what happens if,
It'll happen eventually.
It will.
It's inevitable. Yeah, life happens.
so I guess I understand, the benefits of the 5 versus the 7 in terms of the budget, but I guess I have a preference of 7 versus the 5.
I don't think the $5,000, it's a drop in the bucket.
It is
on the
for
budget.
what-
I don't think that would be a consideration at all. And I think we function better with 7. Because there's been many a time where life has happened, as Mark said, that we're down to 5.
Yeah.
So what happens?
A couple times
Yeah.
this year even.
Yeah, this year, then we wouldn't have a quorum.
I'm all for the 7. I think it represents more of the village in that. We get more input from 7 than 5 people.
It's a tough call. I see pros and cons of both sides, and I called and spoke with Ben earlier when I saw it come up on the agenda just to get some background and have some discussion on it as well. And I think there is some value in a smaller group, even aside from the financial part. The simplicity of that, I think, could help get some things done on occasion. Although at the same time, having the more diverse viewpoints and dialogue when we are discussing and trying to figure out how to navigate an issue is healthier to have more people. So, I mean, not to be political about it, but I really am right in the middle on it. I see the value of both ways, really. And this is just a discussion point at this time anyway.
Yeah, there was no action being taken. It was just simply discussion. Okay, anyone else have comments on that at all? Then we will move on. Okay, next item, discussion and possible action on application for boards and commissions for village trustee position. So we do have two applicants. They're here this evening, Mike and Eric. And I will give you, this will all be done in open session. I'll give you 3 minutes each if you wanted to each come up, present yourselves, say what you could do for the village. If we have any questions, we would ask you. And if you have any questions for us, you could do that as well. I will note that both applications were filled out thoroughly and a lot of good points from each candidate were made. So, Eric, you're on the agenda first in the packet. So if you'd like to come up. Oh, and one thing for the board is that if you ask, you should ask the same question to each candidate.
Correct.
So if you have a question, you have to ask them both.
Well, the board pretty much knows what I'm about, what I stand for, bringing the community together. Between the board and us out here, I think we need to do a little bit more of that. I bring a construction background. I've been doing that since I was born. My dad owned his own masonry company. I've worked for a union. I was a trustee for Bricklayers Local 8 here in Milwaukee, and then was vice president for 2 terms there. So I understand how some of these things run. But I think the biggest thing I want to bring is bridging this gap that we have to get more people in here to this meeting. There's a lot of things that go on that people, and life happens, right? We say it a lot, but people need to start coming to these things and really seeing what's going on in this village for the better. You guys are doing a great job, but I think there's people that have ideas that just don't bring them, and they should be. So I think that would be my biggest part is trying to get these two together, because we don't have a whole lot here tonight, right? But I think we can bring that back together, and I think I shown that I can help with that by last month's meeting.
So aside from last month's meeting being separate, how would you propose, or how would you invigorate the community to be a participant in tonight's meeting?
Well, I think all the Facebook pages are underutilized here in the village. A lot of what I did with the help of Gary here, that the Facebook was a huge benefit for us. It gets people going. You don't see the minutes being, posted on those sites. The village site, you gotta dig pretty deep to get to it.
Mhm.
And it's cumbersome and frustrating. Most people will just give up. That's my opinion on that. But I think just making some simple posts, I know Pat does a lot of that reposting on our, and I think that's great. I think we need to do more of it, like what's tonight's meeting about? No one knows. And it's not because of you guys specifically. We have, an obligation to do that as well as citizens here, right? I want to just get us all on the same page. These meetings should be pretty full, because there's a lot of good stuff that's going on here, and a lot of stuff that could be better.
Thank you.
Would you be able to push the button on the microphone? I think it's off.
Testing. Sounds like it's on.
No, the green light's on.
Okay,
It might just be because I turned down the
you
volume.
might have to turn it back up.
Oh, You're asking a lot from me, Paul.
Okay. Any other questions? So my one question that I had is, what would you see as a challenge coming onto the board with no experience, but you do have the experience as a vice president of the union? What would be one of your challenges of coming onto this board then?
Well, I think a challenge, and I started looking at all the things that go with this position. And I just think getting a grasp on and learning, I think the finances is a big thing. I think I want to get my head wrapped around that, would be a little bit of a challenge for me. Tom understands it, right? I mean, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of redundance in when I was looking through it. So I think that's be a pretty big learning curve for me. And I really want to understand it. And I think I should be in part of this group, not just one simple thing saying yay or nay, but fully understand when that's brought to you guys that I'm saying, yes, I accept it and understand it.
Any other questions?
No,
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. And now if Mike could come forward. Same format, you'll have 3 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself. We do have your application as well.
Thanks. My name is Mike Baronic. I'm new to the village. I moved in a couple of years ago, 3, I believe. This is my 3rd summer at the house we own on 126th. For me, my background, I am a trained technical educator. I have been on a village board in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. I moved down here following my spouse, and I work from home. I have a vast experience. I've owned my own businesses. Currently, I work for a supercomputer company as a technical instructor and a technical program manager. For me, as an Eagle Scout, when I heard about the position open, I said to myself, you know what, I like the community. I like getting out, being seen. I was speaking with Bill moments ago. I met Bill I play horseshoes with the Horseshoe League on Wednesdays. And it was actually kind of some prodding from the guys down there to, let's step up if you're really interested. And I am. So that's what brought me here.
Okay. So my question for you then is, what was one of your challenges when you were on the board in Fall Creek?
The Fall Creek board, the challenge there was the board of review. Now that I was thinking about it, sitting down and actually having my neighbors come in and tell me, why they think their taxes should be less than anybody else's. That was a bit of a challenge. The other committees I was on and the other parts of the board, it was actually a fairly easy transition. At the time, I was working for the Boy Scouts of America, so I had an opportunity to meet many different boards and organizations through the different communities in Eau Claire County, in Chippewa County and Barron County as you went north. And so it was actually fairly easy, but I guess if you wanted me to pinpoint a challenge, it would be sitting on that board of review.
Okay, thank you.
And the same question I asked Eric is what are your thoughts on how to get more people to join us in the meetings and participate in all of the different things that we're trying to?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, I didn't expect to have to do I knew I was going to answer questions, but
Sure.
I didn't realize I was going to do a presentation. But for me, it would be being seen. I think that if you want more people to be here, I need to get out and do more things. I need to go to the library. I need to go and see what's going on in the park. This past weekend there was quite a large fundraiser, and I was really quite amazed by the number of people using the park. You don't see that many when you just go up there on Wednesdays for horseshoes, and that was pretty invigorating. I really like to be seen and represented at at the hot rods, for instance. That's another great chance to just be out there. And the more, as a representative of the board, the more you're involved is going to spur more people to be involved with what you're working on.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. As I mentioned, we do have the application, the materials in front of us. I will say a comment for, on behalf of Eric. Prior to the agenda item we had a couple weeks ago, I had no idea who you were, but I would say that you ran that very professionally with the petition. And we had unfortunately, that's what got us a full house, was an issue like that. But I did note that you presented very well and you stuck to the facts. And then I don't Facebook, but the people at Facebook told me that you would, or somebody would correct them when false information was being out there. So I do appreciate that. And I felt that meeting went well. And Mike, I can't comment on that because you weren't part of that. So I can't add to that at all, to be fair.
Well, they both have great backgrounds. We do need more people coming to the meetings. We've tried. We need more people on committees. Everybody is complaining or requesting we do this, do that, do this, but we don't have the help. And 7 people can't do it. And that is one of the biggest problems I see, along with the budget, but.
I agree with Pat. Community events could use some more members. I know the library board's looking for members. So there's plenty of things out here that we can volunteer for. It's just a matter of getting the volunteers.
Well, I know community events we've been begging for help for years. You know, we're a committee of, last year we were a committee of 4. Now we're back down to a committee of 3. And I had someone ask me, well, why don't you meet in August and September? Why don't you do bingo all year round? And the answer is, we need a break.
Yeah.
It's when you start planning in July of 2024 for July of 2025's parade, it's a full-time job, right?
Yeah.
And everything that we put into it, it's the 3 of us. So I appreciate hearing that, you want to be, stewards of getting more people involved. That's a great thing because we desperately need that. Tonight's a full house. For us, it's a full house. There's 80 here. That's a lot. But how do we maintain that? How do we drive that forward? Chief doesn't count because he's here every week. So, but you count, but it's that. You're right. Tremendous experience on both sides. Thank you for both, stepping up to the plate in a time of need. It's appreciated.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough call. I mean, I really actually liked both of your answers to the questions. Seems like a little bit different tack of response. But for sure, Eric has demonstrated you can really connect with the community and get people to hear both sides of an issue and get the information out there. The board would find both of you as an asset. I mean, it's really
How big of
I
a,
think a big, deal breaker either way.
how big of a village was Fall Creek?
When I was living there, it was probably right around 2,000. Not much different than Butler here.
How many members were on the board?
We had 7.
Thank you.
I was on finance, building, and I think I sat on the building on the library board.
Thank
It
you.
was required to be all 3.
Bill, did you have any comment at all?
I very well like both their answers, both their backgrounds. And I like how diverse they are. That's why I was trying to stay with 7 instead of 5, because I like the diversity
Mhm.
of what we're looking at here. It's been a long road, but I think both of them are very qualified. Absolutely. To make a pick, it's gonna be darn hard, to be honest with you. We've seen what Eric can do. And see what Mike is about, I mean, it weighs pretty heavy both ways, So I'm pretty impressed and very thankful that you guys would step forward.
Mm.
Like I said before, I've been doing this a long time, and I really appreciate it when the village comes forward. And I like your ideas of getting involved somehow with the village. I'm not much of a Facebooker, but you made it work good, very well. So, and the guys I pitch horseshoes with, I kind of built that horseshoe pit. So like, it's kind of a hard pick for me, But I like both their qualifications.
I agree.
Mhm.
Eric has 27 years, Mike with the village, and Mike has about 4, both very active in the community.
Is this something we need to decide right now or? can we-
Yep.
Okay,
Well, I mean,
I was
Yeah.
gonna suggest if we,
because we have to do it in open session.
okay, can we
So-
go into closed session and talk about it and then come back out?
Not on
No.
this one.
So if
We have to put the pain forward.
we do. So I can make a motion, and I will make a motion for Eric Bowler to be appointed to the village board trustee position.
I'll second that.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Just one comment. You mentioned you've been here a few years and you've been here for 27. In my mind, the way I vote is not based on that. Because like I was only here 3 years when I became a trustee. So it's not based on that. There's some significance to that, but yet at the same time, it's just one factor on the scale, if you will.
Many factors.
It's not seniority doesn't count, you know what I mean, like that. So don't think that
And-
that counts against you, by being new.
And I agree with that position, and my basis for that motion was also part of it based on, I've seen Eric's, the way he handled that group home situation,
Mhm.
and I was impressed with that.
Mhm.
So I thought that was very beneficial for the village.
President Katsdorf, could I just request a roll call vote for that?
Yes. Go ahead and call the roll.
Benjamin,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Katsdorf,
Yes,
Meyer,
No?
Sardina,
Yes.
Tarks.
Yes,
motion passes. Thank you
lot of
both.
committees to join.
Please,
Get,
please.
please.
Give up.
Thank you both. Discussion and possible action on extension of premise for Cardinal Club for the Hot Rods on Hampton event for September 8th.
So for the next 3 items, they're all the same, pretty much just extensions of the premises that we do every year for the Hot Rods on Hampton. Nothing new. They've provided their premise extensions descriptions in their emails to us. We will probably have one more coming up on the September 3rd agenda for White Jamoon, but same as we always have for those, just extending those out to the sidewalk so they can serve and carry outside.
And that is at the same hours.
Same hours, no more, no less than the actual event.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension for, can I lock them all together? Cardinal
Second,
Club, Derby and Butler Inn.
I would say probably one by one.
We have to do them individually.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the extension for the Cardinal Club for Hot Rods on Hampton.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
I-
Aye.
On opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on extension of premise for Derby District for the Hot Rods on Hampton event for September 8th.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension for Derby District for Hot Rods on Hampton.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on extension of premise for Butler Inn for Hot Rods on Hampton on September 8th.
I'll make a motion to accept it for Butler Inn.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on a proposal by Ellers to provide a water rate study to the village of Butler.
Yes, so I have Ariana here from Ellers. She can give some background and answer some questions that you guys have, but I'm bringing this to the board for a couple different reasons. The first one is we'd had a comprehensive rate study done in 2022 that hiked rates 45%. That was the first rate increase that we had in quite some time for the water utility. So that's why that was so large. And then we had a purchase water adjustment clause in 2023 that I believe it was about 3 to 4% of an increase because Milwaukee Waterworks increased their purchase water amount or rate to the village. So we were allowed to adjust our rates accordingly for that. Now that the village is continuing on with its capital improvement projects, we decided this year to go with revenue bonds versus levying on the tax bills for the borrowing that needs to happen for these projects. So because of that, we need to go back to the PSC and ask for another rate increase. This one's going to be much smaller than the previous one that was done in 2022. I'm assuming, and the best practice is really to have these small increases every year to 2 years, just so then we don't have the situation that we had where we're hiking at 45% in a year. There's not that big sticker shock. We can increase the rate slowly and kind of allowing for that adjustment time. The other and to finance that debt, I mean, again, we would have to pay for it, whether it's on the taxes or on the water bill. And then the other thing is part of this water study is to look at moving part of the what we deem to be called the hydrant rental, part of the tax levy for the expenses. That's something that we levy that we then transfer to the water utility as a journal entry at the end of the year. We're looking to move part of that to the water bill as well to free up the levy to be reallocated to other items in the general fund. So we do not have to look at cutting services going into next year and the years beyond that, just because we are going to be running a little bit tight on the budget for next year. So that's kind of what I have on that. Ariana, I would invite you up for a quick discussion on what your proposal would be.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for having me tonight. My name is Ariana Schmidt here with Ellers, as Ben said. I believe you should all have this in your packet, correct?
Mhm.
So I don't know if you've had the chance to look at it, but this is ultimately our proposal for a water rate study. So a few key takeaways on our experience with this. Ellers as a firm has done over 200 utility rate studies in the past 5 years and over 50 full rate cases. We do at least 15 of these every year. We have a variety of team members involved in doing this. If you turn to the scope of services, so page number 2 on here, it walks through the different phases of the utility rate study. One of the benefits of doing the long-range cash flow analysis first before we actually get to the full rate case is it gives you a proactive look at the projection 5-10 years down the road, so you can plan for these increases. So like Ben said, it's a lot more advantageous to do smaller increases more frequently than see a sticker shock of 40%, 50%. Some communities who haven't done rate studies or rate increases in 10 plus years are seeing over 100% increases. So this is a proactive way to utilize your capital improvement plan, future projects that you plan to put into place, and forecast out what that means for your user rates based on your revenues and expenditures. So that's really phase one, is looking at the long-range cash flow analysis, working closely with staff to compile that and present the results to you so you can see what's coming based on the projects that you want to put into place. Phase two would then be determining what do we need to do in order to implement those rates. So there's two different ways you can approach it with the PSC. The simplified rate increase, which is a small increase meant to just keep up with inflation, versus a conventional rate case, which is what Mike was referring to, that was done in 2022. That allows you to increase rates to pay for future projects and ensure that you have sufficient debt coverage ratios in place to pay for revenue bonds going forward in the future. There's also a variety of revenue bonds offered through the state for larger projects that require certain debt coverage ratios to be in place. And part of this analysis ensures that you have that set up for success so you can actually close on these loans. Some of them have subsidized market rates, including water fund loans, for example. So this is all to help ensure that you're getting the best interest rates and making sure you have user rates in effect to pay for that debt. Thereafter, phase three is ultimately if you have to move forward with a full conventional rate case, we would be there with you to help you through the entire process with the Public Service Commission. It is a very involved process, as I'm sure you know from the past. Staff typically handle most of that, but ultimately presenting the results to you is key. Another thing that we do is we really fight for users. Typically what the Public Service Commission calculates for rate increases is higher than what a cash basis calculation would insinuate. And that's largely due to depreciation being a huge factor in their calculation. So for example, when you book a new asset into service, that entire value of the system is undepreciated. That is the number that they base the rate increase needed off of, which is quite a bit higher than what we would recommend. So we really are your partner in voicing for the lowest rate increase possible to still meet those debt coverage requirements. So that's a part of the rate case proceedings that you see in phase three. And then ultimately phase four is the final presentation, letting you know where things stand and where the rate increase is landed. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the process, any of our experiences we've had, or anything I can help with.
And I also just wanted to make a quick note that on the village's side, we are also making efforts to offset some of the expected increase with that, with kind of working on the sewer and the storm sewer utilities as well to try to minimize the overall increase in the actual utility bills themselves. I'll be touching more on that when it comes to be budget time. And then also, Ariana, approving the proposal does not approve a rate increase at this point, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
It just gives us permission to proceed with phase one, which is the long-range cash flow. It is a stop-and-go approach, so along the process, if it's determined in the cash flow analysis that a rate increase is not needed, we know it is right now, just from discussions with staff, let's say it didn't, we would stop right there and not continue on, and then we would just update that cash flow on an annual basis. So this is, again, just to proceed with that initial rate analysis.
What's the length of time on the first phase?
Yeah, good question. So ideally, if we would need to file a conventional rate case, we would do so by the end of this year, by December. So that phase one would probably take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We would come back, present the results to you, and then proceed with working through that conventional rate case.
That would be after the first of the year.
I'm sorry?
That would be after the first of the year.
Well, we would ideally want to file the case by the end of this year.
Okay.
And the reason being is the process takes about 8 to 10 months for the PSC to process the
Process,
application
sure.
and actually put rates into effect. So you'd be looking at more of a July 25 to September 25 implementation. But again, in the interim, there's a lot of work that will need to be done. So we would get moving on this pretty quickly here.
Okay.
So this is gonna all be part of our budget right now then? for
Correct.
next year.
Because that will then allow me to project out what we need to have.
Is our rate behind again from the water rate? Compared to what?
Comparatively, I don't have the numbers on where we compare to other municipalities, but again, I would caution against looking at that just because every municipality is different. And I think Ariana was talking about the village of Teresa, who hasn't done their rate increase in some time, and they had 100% increase. So that's kind of the caution that I have throwing that out there. I can tell you that right now, with the expected expenses from not just from the capital projects that we're doing, we're not next year we're going to run a deficit in the water utility. with the current rates.
And if I may, part of our analysis will show you that rate comparison with usually 2 to 3 counties neighboring, so you can see where you sit both currently as well as with the future rate increase. And then we also look at historical, so we'll look at your past 5 years. So we will be able to tell you, are you behind current state before adding any future capital projects as well.
Another question, is the sewer and water, is the sewer part of this? And just,
No.
this is just water?
Correct, yes. Sewer
Okay.
and storm are unregulated. We don't have to go to the PSC for any type of rate adjustment for that.
Right. So I'm just kind of concerned on the, where's it gonna do with the sewer and water, or the sewer end of this, the storm sewer and, the rest of it?
Yeah, that's not gonna, the rates there from this are not gonna be touched. They're not gonna go up or down based off of this.
But what I'm trying to get is the, how can we bring some of that value over into this project to help drop that down? Or are we at the limit right now?
So what I am working on that right now. I was actually working with Aaron this afternoon on the rates for the sewer and the storm water. So I am working on those to make sure that the rates, the expenses that we have for next year and the rates that we're charging can help offset some of that for those increases to keep the overall utility bills where they, you know, as minimal of an impact as we can make.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. So yeah, we can make that work.
Ben, you had mentioned being at a deficit for next year. Will this allow us to course correct for 2026 then?
For 2026, yes.
So the proposal then for 14.5, that's just an estimate of costs?
That is the quote that for their services.
Okay,
And again, it's a stop and go approach, so that's why you see different fees per phase. So if we get to a certain phase and we don't proceed, the bill stops there. One thing to note is this is just fees to Ellers, so this does not include any fees to the BSC for actually filing the application, which whether you did the application
Right.
yourself or whoever did it for you, you would have to pay to the BSC.
Do you recall what those fees were?
I do not have those off the top of my head. I can get them for you. I don't know if that-
Yeah, it's not gonna
Give
help
me
tonight.
1 second. I have.
Yeah. I was just curious.
It's not this high. I know it's a lot smaller, but I don't want to speak the correct number.
So back in 2022, when we did that, our PSC and our budget, the PSC annual, where we assessed this to, it was between like $500 to $1,000 for those fees. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it's a small amount.
That's kind of what I thought, but I just want to get a better picture of where we're going with this.
Absolutely.
So the advantage to the village to pay Ellers for the study is so we have an accurate request to the PSC and then they also facilitate that request?
Correct. So in the past, the village has used Baker Tilly, our auditors, to file that rate case. The thing is with Baker Tilly, they basically just take numbers and fill out the form and submit it. There's no forecasting, there's no cash flow analysis, there's none of that. So Ellers gives us, well, they're cheaper. Ellers gives us more bang for our buck. I'll argue where we get that forecast 5 to 10 years out.
And then we can continue to update that cash flow on an annual basis, not necessarily needing to proceed through the conventional rate case every year, but just once we have the template outlined, it's fairly simple to update on an annual basis. So you would continue to have that tool moving forward.
and then it would be, if we went through with it, we could always just say we don't need the final presentation if we didn't have any questions. We could
Yeah,
stop
that's-
the
that's
process.
cer- That's
Okay.
certainly an option, not typically something we see just because you ultimately want to see what the results are, but that is an option if you choose to.
Okay.
And just to kind of like do like a quick tangent to what Bill was talking about as well. Right now, we're also with the property tax levy as well. Right now, with the, not to kind of get off topic, but with the reduction, the elimination of the personal property tax levy, the overall levy for the village is actually decreasing this year. because they eliminated that and they're backfilling that amount to us with a direct payment. So the actual tax levy that's going to be levied against all of the properties in the village is actually going to be lower going into 2025. So just if we're looking at the overall village, what we're charging for services.
That's kind of where I was going with my question. So
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the proposal from Ellers with respect to the water rate study.
I'll second it.
A motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in opposition, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The board may consider convening into closed session pursuant to section 19.851C Wisconsin stats to consider the employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee of which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The issue is 2024 non-represented employee wages, benefits, and compensation. So we will be closed, and then I would have Police Chief stay, Aaron, and Ben
We
would
got
stay.
a motion to go in, right?
And do I have a motion to go into closed
Make a
session?
motion to go in.
I'll second it.
We are closed.
I need to take a quick vote.
Thank you.
Mr. Kasdorf, I need to take a quick vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Call the roll.
Benjamin,
Yes.
Holdman,
Yes.
Kasdorf,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Sardina,
Yes.
Tarks.
And then make sure the cameras are off.
Yes, give me 1 second and stream and